What is going on, guys, and welcome to Bootstrap tutorial. And in this video we're going to talk about collapse in Bootstrap. And collapse is actually used to hide content, and one of the most popular places actually is going to be in the navbar. So when we'll be covering navbar, we're going to have a look how we'll be using collapse a lot. But for now we're just going to cover buttons and accordion and pretty basic stuff. So the first thing that I would want to do is actually create a button over here, and I'm going to create a button that has a type, and this is going to be button. And obviously over here I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to say that this is going to be button, this is going to be button, I don't know, primary, something like this. And if we remember the drop downs, we actually had to add a couple of extra classes. So in this case we're also going to add a data toggle class over here like this. However, the value is not going to be drop down, it's going to be collapse, something like this, right? And also we would need to add a new attribute, and it's going to be data target, something like this. And the target I'm going to leave blank for now, just to kind of show you what we would need to do. So over here I have created this button, and I'm going to say that I'm collapse, something like this. So this is my button. Now after we have created a button, we actually need to create a content, right? And the content we create by creating a div, and we would give it a class, and the class would be collapse. And over here we would need to give it an ID, and the ID would have to match whatever we're typing over here in a data target, right? So let me just create a little bit more room. So if I, let's say, create this ID and I say 1, then obviously this one would have to match the ID, so it's going to say 1. So this is how we connect them. And obviously over here I'm just going to create something like h1, and I'm going to say hello world, I am collapse, right? Something very easy. So now I have that, and as I press it you can see hello world, I am collapse. So that's how we basically make a very simple collapse. Now next thing that I want to show you is how we can do that using the links. So again over here I'm just gonna create a link, but the difference is, again, I'm creating a data toggle over here like this. That would be the same over here, and I would say collapse. However, with the links we can use a href instead of data target over here, right? So what we can do over here, we can just write a href, and again I'm just going to leave it blank for now because we don't know, and I'm going to say the link as a collapse over here. But again I'm just going to create the same div. I'm just going to copy this so we don't have to write it twice, and I'm just going to copy this, paste it over here, and I'm obviously going to change the ID over here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be 2. And if we create a href over here to 2, and if we're just going to press it, something went wrong, so let's check what we're missing over here. Oh, okay, I don't have the end for a div, right? So created the end right now, and now if you press it you can see that hello world, I am collapse. And the next thing that I want to show you how we actually can work with panel groups. So let's say over here we have a div, and that div is going to be class, and it's going to be panel group class. So it's going to be panels that are grouped, right? So I have panel group, and next thing, if we remember, we need to do is actually create a div that would say a class is going to be panel default, right? So we write panel, let's write it danger, something like this. So it's a little bit more interesting. Now the next thing we're going to create is panel heading, right? So it's going to be div class, and class value is going to be panel heading, and in the heading we're going to create a panel title, right? So over here I'm just going to say div class, and this is going to be panel title, something like this. And now that I have created this div over here, I actually need to place, let's say, a link over here, right? So what I would need to do over here, I'm just going to create that this is going to be href over here like this, and I'm just going to do the same thing that we did over here. I'm going to write that this is going to be a data toggle, something like this, and I would say that this is going to be equal to collapse, And over here, I'm just going to use a href over here like this. And I'm going to say that that href is obviously, I'm going to leave it for now blank because I haven't created yet the ID. And over here, let's say I'm going to write something, right? And I'm going to say that I am heading, right? Something like this. So this is I am heading. Now, I want to tell you that we could have done it also if we would have created just a h1 tag. And that probably would make more sense in this case over here. So if we have h1, you can see that it's going to be looking more like a heading. So we can skip over here this div if we don't want to, right? If we want to work with a div, we can work with the div like we did. But if we want to skip the div, we can actually work with headings or paragraphs or whatever we desire. Now, once we're done over here dealing with the heading, I'm just going to make sure that this is what our heading is. But obviously in the actual panel, we have a panel body and panel footer, and those are going to be the ones that once we click on it, they actually show up, right? So now we would actually need to connect them, and the way we would do that, we would create the div, and it's pretty much the same what we're doing over here. Just in this case, we're going to be placing this div actually within this panel, and we're going to also create a panel, a body and panel footer within this div. So let me show you what I mean. So over here you can see that I have my panel heading. However, within a panel over here, within panel itself, right, I would need to create a div, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a class, and the class is going to be collapse, and it's also going to be a panel collapse. So what I would need to write over here first is panel collapse. And when we'll be working with navbars, we're going to write navbar collapse, and then we're going to write one more time collapse. So this is how we should write this class. And the next thing, we need to create a div, the ID. So ID is going to be, let's say 3. So now I know what is my ID, and I go over here and I say that this is going to be 3. And now within this div, we're just going to create a panel body and panel footer. So I have a div class panel body over here, and I'm going to say I am body, and next thing what I'm going to do is just going to copy this, and this is going to be my footer, and over here I'm just going to delete this. I am footer, and now you can see that I have a panel body and panel footer hitting here. So so if I click it over here, you can see that I am body, I am a footer. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.